In this episode tonight, coming up, it's more chat about football.
Hello! Oh, I reacted. There was nearly a Mexican wave there from Hutch here, and Michael standing there on the end holding a stick. What's on the end of the stick, Mick?
I've got a very big stick. Do you want to see how long my stick is? No, it's gone.
Oh,
it's gone.
See how reduced it went as soon as he mentioned how big his stick was. Anyway, this is Corby Town TV, and we're on the YouTube channel. And if you're watching this, it's because you maybe like Corby Town and you like to talk about football and stuff. But of course, the idea is hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the notification button so you never miss out. We're recording these now on a Monday night, so you'll be getting them live on your whatever platform you're using on Thursday, which, come the beginning of the season, will be perfect for the weekend's football.
It will be a Thursday, although they've been coming out on a Friday just so it suits me. But when the season starts, it'll be a Thursday.
So, Michael, you got a star on your hat. What's that about?
Converse.
We're
not allowed to advertise on here, but Converse do very nice trainers.
They do.
And I got this hat in America.
Anyways, we're ignoring our special guest.
Before we start, Chuck, we should mention, I think the club is still on the lookout to get those bricks going, and we still keep the adverts on here.
So if you've got a brick, go back to the previous mentions by Eugene Finan. Find the details, send your money in, and you can get a black and white brick for the black and white wall here at Steel Park. It needs to be done before the season starts, which we all know will be around about the mid-August time, but there's friendlies going on, 3 friendlies coming up before that time. But yes, get your brick details in if you want to be part of the black and white wall.
Yep, and season tickets are available now.
They are. They've been available. Keep an eye on the socials for when the club shop, which is over there, will be open. You can pick up your season tickets. I think I spoke to the chairman. They've gone up slightly because of the cost of the fact there's an extra game. But if you buy them early enough, it does mean you can come into all the pre-season friendlies.
They are £190 for season tickets. For adults, concessions, the prices are £7 per game. Adults are 12, and the under 16s, I think, are £2. I think I'm not sure of what their season ticket prices for the concessions and the under 16s are, but we put it on the last podcast, so we'll put it on this one.
And of course, this weekend here at Steel Park, and of course at Steel Bar. Oh, I look like that runner there for a minute, didn't I? There is the Volunteers Day, so get up here. I don't know, 10ish in the morning to help out. There's lots of painting needs to be done. The paint's already here. Just bring your old clothes or an Arsenal shirt and go and paint all the walls.
Anyways, we're ignoring this young man, not because we're being rude, because we had to get through what we call housekeeping things first.
Housekeeping, is it?
And tonight, our guest is Colin Hutchinson, or everyone calls him Hutch. Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm not bad. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Got the niceties out of the way. So, Colin, positivity! Tell us about the season.
Yeah, we had a great season.
Is that it? Is that it?
Well, we did. I mean, we were a young team, weren't we? Everyone knows that. We got a bit of experience last year. We had a few year ones, and the rest of the team was sort of year 11 boys. And they gained that experience. Some left, as they do, but yeah, most of the majority of them stayed on this season. And I mean, from up until the third game, towards the end there, we went unbeaten in the league. And out of both leagues, you know, looking at the leagues and seeing that we weren't beaten at 0, it felt great. But it brings an added little bit of pressure.
Do you think that, I mean, you went on a run of how many games unbeaten?
13.
13 games unbeaten, yeah. So that's an accolade in itself.
Yeah.
From that, you're second top goal scorers in the league?
We were second top, yeah. I think we've got 74.
And you had 5 players, I think it was 5 or 4 players that made it out of your youth team that managed to go forward and get on the bench and play in the full senior team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not a bad season, really, is it?
No, I mean, there is success there, isn't there? Maybe I'm just being a bit miserable and pushing for more. But yeah, I suppose that's a good thing.
What do you think? What would be a perfect scenario for you if you could change something about the league? Because there seems to be, so I don't know, some sort of maybe issues with the way the setup is, or teams not following particular rules, because there's always a bit of rule bending. If you had your way, what's the one thing you would change about the league that you've had to play for in this season?
Maybe the time the league starts or the league finishes, because during the season, grass pitches, what have you, there's a lot of games that get called off. And when we were younger, no games got called off. And I understand why they do get called off these days. They've got first team games, and it gets too wet, injuries and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think there was a period through the winter where we didn't play for 6 weeks, and then you have the odd game thrown at you, and then you play. So your momentum's gone, your match fitness is gone, and you got to wait another 4 or 5 weeks. And in the running of it, it's like the game's on, then the game's off. The build up, you get up. I've been here a couple of times, set up, and then the game's got called off, and it's just frustrating. And then that pushes on to the end of the season. Now the season should finish in the start of May, but then because of all of this, you end up playing twice a week in May, to the end of May time. But that's when the exams are, so you lose a few players, like doing A levels, and we had 3 young lads in my squad this year, U11 boys, from start to finish for the whole season, and they were very important players into the squad. So they were doing their GCSEs towards the end there. And then there was others that delayed holiday times because they know the season's going to end. So, and then they ended up on holiday. So it's not that you're making excuses or end, but the 3 games towards the end of the season there, we didn't have our strongest teams out.
I think you made a very vital point, and that is the fact that you are dealing with young lads.
Yeah.
They are going through educational times.
Yeah.
And their exams are paramount.
Yeah.
And the league need to take that into consideration. Now, I'm not making any excuses, but the weather this year has been absolutely appalling. And that's not just for the youth team, that's for all the teams. I mean, Corby have found it as well. They've had games called off. They've been put on a Tuesday night. They've been called off again. There's, if you look at No Mates, they've missed a pitch for, how long did they miss their pitch for? 6 weeks? It was a long time, and they're not the only ones. There was other teams that had issues with the pitch. The pitch here at Steel Park is generally not too bad, but if it takes too much players on it, if it's been used too much, and it has, because the ladies' team's on it, the youth team's on it, the walking football's been on it, the first team are on it. It takes a bit of a beating. It looks absolutely fantastic, but they've been doing a lot of work during close season at the moment. So you can see some patches where they've got to, put some stuff down, I think, but. It is. I do take on board, but I think, the point you make about education, that needs to be taken into consideration, and you really need that season to be finished by a certain date, in the same way that the first team's league had to finish on the 27th of April. There's no hangovers. If you had 4 games to play and you had 1 week to do it in, you'd play them all that week.
Yeah.
And it seems that whoever is running the league, whether it's the FA, your league, whether it's the FA or the Northamptonshire FA, they need to be aware of that and take that into consideration, because I think, as you say, I can't believe you were still playing a game. You had your last game last week. 5 weeks after the first team had finished theirs. It's quite shocking, really. But I'd like to think that members of the NFA are listening for that kind of. It's a salient point and a very sensible point too.
Yeah. I mean, even if they just sort of like, I don't know how you'd fix the situation, but maybe start the season a few weeks earlier, and maybe have a little break in winter so everyone understands what they're doing, instead of getting everyone geared up for a game that just doesn't ever happen.
Yeah.
You know what I
mean? How many teams are in the league?
In our league, there was 10 this year.
So it's not as if, crying out loud, logistically, it should fit.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. You're only talking 20 games, aren't you?
Yeah. And there was teams like Peterborough United, got an AstroTurf. Yeah. And obviously they've got an AstroTurf depending on weathers. But their season was done.
Yeah.
Months ago, in the league anyway. You know what I mean? So they're sitting there watching everyone else sort of get on with things. And they've managed to get all the games done.
We've got to swap the mic. One thing I will say is we also had to opt out of the Jamin Shield because there was absolutely no way that we would have got all those fixtures in.
No. And I don't know, maybe if they, during the winter break, done that competition. I don't know how they're going to sit down and fix it. But definitely playing through the winter, unless you got a plastic pitch, it's not going to happen. So why is the season got fixtures through December, January and February?
I think Corby lost at least 5 games due to unavailable pitches, home and away. And it's not, that's a lot. I mean, the year before, I think they'd be lucky if they lost 1. And it would have been an away fixture. This place hasn't been a problem. So, yeah, I mean, frost is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And if it is frosty at night, because all your games are generally in the evening, kick off 7:30, if the pitch is frosty, we understand that. It's health and safety. You can't go sliding in it. You rip your legs apart. But if, there's not been an awful lot of snow this year, but it's been very, very wet and it's caused a bit of a problem everywhere. So we'll have to wait for next year to be a little bit more sunnier. Yeah. But we all know about global warming, don't we? It's happening. And it's not, I reckon it's the wrong word. Global warming suggests it's going to be warm, it's going to be lovely, the sun's going to be out. No, it means there's more moisture in the air, and the more moisture in the air means more rainfall. So we're stuck with it. Should we get a plastic pitch at Corby Town?
No, I'm a grass man for the youth team, perhaps. Ladies, yes. Save the first team pitch, but yeah.
What do you think? Would you prefer your team to be playing on grass or on a plastic pitch G3, G4, 4G3? G, yeah.
Only out of selfish reasons that you could play every week. That would be it. Other than that, no, because the lads do get older. I mean, they're all young. They all come up playing through AstroTurfs. We played in the JPL all our lives, so we went to beautiful pitches, but mainly AstroTurfs, and you train on AstroTurfs. But I speak to my lads, and I have mentioned, like, we went to Diamonds and it's an AstroTurf, and they hated it. They just were like, they couldn't play. The foot gets stuck underneath. There's just all sorts that they get used to playing on grass. And they actually, as a whole, prefer playing on grass. So, yeah, you know what I mean? So, but personally, just to be able to play every week, I'd take plastic pitch.
I don't know this. I know that football pitches, size-wise, have they have a tolerance of length and width. Yeah. Now, this pitch here at Steel Park is particularly wide. Mm-hmm. The one over there at the old ground at the Triangle, that was particularly thin. But are all 5-a-side pitches, are all the 3G, 4G pitches, are they all the same size?
No, they're all different.
They're all different as well?
They're all different size. I mean, it'd be hard to find an AstroTurf this size. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're rare that they're this big and beautiful. So yeah, they're always a little bit smaller.
Because
the plastic bits themselves, they end up getting flattened. Yeah. The new 4G ones, they're a bit more grass-like and less black bobbly bits. Yeah. But over time, they do sort of wear down. But yeah, I mean, you can play in the rain.
We've all played in the rain. I've played in the hail. That's not good. It pings you off your legs. It's painful.
But yeah, sliding, challenging on them, they're a bit dangerous. I feel like they sustain a lot of injuries. Like if you got a niggly back or sore ankle, you're jumping up for headers and stuff. You land funny. Do you know what I mean? It can heighten certain injuries and things like that. So I get why people don't like them. But personally, as a manager, I want to play every week. And if that means playing on a plastic pitch, I don't mind.
Yeah, as you say, it means that your time is set up. Your time is better used. Yeah. Setting up the team, preparing for the game, making sure everybody turns up, heads focused on the game, and get on with it and play football. Yeah. And if you've got games being called off left, right, and centre, that doesn't help. For you. No.
But then, obviously, this is like I regard this as Wembley around here. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to come. It's a beautiful place to play football. The ground staff do amazing, and yeah. I wouldn't say it'd give us any advantage or anything. It's just a beautiful surface to play on. And teams that come here, they get up for it, if that makes sense. They look at the pitch and go, oh, and they could, it probably gets them playing better, if that makes sense. Which is, you get it yourself as a player. You go to certain grounds and you just feel more comfortable because you think that's a footballing ground, and then it brings the best out of you.
It's strange that because there's been to some grounds this season, and it's not like going to a football stadium at all.
No,
is it, Market Harbour Town?
And it and it has the opposite effect then, doesn't it? If you don't want to play, you don't feel, you know what I mean?
It's yeah. But so let's, as I say, we're looking at the positives of what was a particularly good year. Before we go a year ahead and think about what you want to achieve next year, of the 5 players that were in your team that have gone forward and played for the first team, Corby Town, what do you think? What's going to happen to them over the next season? Are they staying, or do you think that they need to go somewhere else, or do you think it's best that they stay with the Steelmen, or do you think they maybe need to go somewhere else and get a little bit more football under their belts at that higher level?
Are you asking me if these lads should go to another man's team then?
Yeah. Well, can they still play in the youth team? Are they of that age?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's why I keep saying, all these lads that are coming through, they're super young. Like my team this year, I think I've had 4 or 5 year 2s, and last year they were year 1s. So it's like Shea Brown, Adlin, Thomas, Tanaka, Joe, who else? Abdu. I think I've covered everyone. So they're kind of leaving, and it leaves the majority of the side year 1, who will be year 2 next year. So, but Ryan, I know Ryan's spoken to me. He said he wants to give Corby a bash, the first team. If not, maybe go over to Bugbrook where he was out on loan. So he's got his head on man's football. Shea, I'm not sure what's happening with him in the first team. I can speak about Carl personally because he's my lad, and I chat to him at home. I know Setch has given him the phone call and invited him to pre-season. So that's good.
A couple of weeks ago, there was a very proud dad, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And all I saw was his arms go like that, where his son probably scored one of the best goals you'll see.
Yeah, a lot of people did say that was the best goal they've ever seen. For me, I stuck my hands up because I've seen it. I've seen it in Carl since he's been 8. He scored them goals a lot. It's nothing new.
This was a 30-yard shot from mid-pitch into the back of the net.
The way it flew off his foot and into the net, it was a beauty. And the funny thing was, you weren't here the following week against Kettering. He did the same thing, and it hit the crossbar, like the joint, exact same distance, probably 5 yards further back. Yeah. Everything was the exact same. Keeper scrambled, but it hit the bar. And I think it was the ref that said to Carl, "Jesus, that was like diamonds all over again." But he
has done that a few times this season.
That
wasn't a one-off.
No, it's not. It's never been a one-off. He's really good at free kicks. Really good at free kick, and that type of striking ability in play as well. I think you videoed one before, didn't you? Yeah. And he scored an absolute parlour against Kettering the week after. Put it right in the top corner. It was like a De Bruyne from right over there. It was an absolute peach. So and I think Stanley, the goalkeeper that went up, I think he's definitely staying with me. I know that for sure. And he says he wants to try and push on and get as much as he can from the first team. So I guess he wants to go training, try and prove himself. And then Nigel was the other lad that went up. I think Nigel kind of fizzed out with it. I'm not sure he pushed on with going to training, but I do know for a fact that Stanley, Kyle, Shea, and Ryan consistently went to training when they were supposed to.
Well, they're always going to learn from it, aren't they?
Yeah, when they got the call up to games, it was generally Ryan, Kyle, and Shea every week on the bench. Ryan got a little bit more time, didn't he? Starting games and coming on half a game through. And Shea and Kyle got like 10, 15 minutes whenever Setch, I suppose, could give them that time and use them.
The one thing we've skirted around, and we shouldn't, is your success you had in Holland, which was a massive achievement.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned it yet. How proud of you were the boys out there?
It was great. It was honestly, it was fantastic. We didn't even get a goal against us, and when you go away with a team, so I've done this a lot now. This is the 3rd holiday I've took a team abroad. I've gone to Spain twice, and it's brilliant to stand back and just watch them gel. You know what I mean? Because they're eating together, they're sleeping together, they're playing together, and it's a brilliant sight to see. Like they just become one. Like an England camp or whatever. They just gel, and they end up fighting for one another, and die-hardness is on the pitch. It's great. It's fantastic. I really love watching that. And but in the final, we actually played. The tournament itself, Michael, was an under-19s tournament, and we're an under-18s team. And I think if it wasn't for Shay, he's like I say, the oldest one, we could have been in the under-17s tournament. Right. So it was a bit of an achievement. So when we went over there, we were kind of nervous when we found out. Originally, we were in the 18s, but that got fizzled out, and they made it an under-19s tournament. But this tournament was massive. It was an Easter Open around Holland. So in the north, they had the younger players tournaments. In the west, they had it. In the east, they had it, and we were down in the south. And that was the under-19s. It was great. We got our own hotel. We got our own bus driver. It felt proper professional. And it was 3 games the first day, and there were 3 half-an-hour games. Which obviously it sounds easy, but when you're in that environment, you go out there and you give it for half an hour.
You're still playing 150 minutes.
Yeah. You still play a whole game.
Yeah.
But with the rest in between, that's what gets
190 minutes. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So the rest is what thingies you, and then you got to keep going. But when we turned up to the tournament officials, they said goal difference would come into this. So there was 5 leagues. There was 20 teams in it. So they made 5 leagues, and you literally had to come top to get through. And then what they did was, out of the 5 leagues, so each league had 1 leader, and it went on goal difference if there was 2 teams that were drawing or anything on points. So we made sure we won the first game handsomely. I think we won 7-0, and that just gave us a little bit of a
bolster and a confidence boost,
and let everyone know that we've arrived, sort of thing. But yeah, just like if it was going to go to goal difference, then hopefully we would pip that one, which thankfully we did. But yeah, what a great tournament. The third game on that day, I forget the name, because some were from Denmark, some were from Norway, some were from Holland. It was a good European tournament, and the team we played, obviously, they'd won their first 2 games, and we'd won our first 2 games, so it went down to that. That was a bit of a feisty cup final, sort of who's going to get through day. But yeah, we managed to beat them 2-0, and we ended up going through. It was the 3, so the top 5 went through, and then the 3 best teams overall. That made up the quarterfinals and the finals, which was at a different location.
All right.
And then when we turned up to play the 3 games, so it was on the second day you play, the quarterfinal, the semi-final, the final, if you get that far. And it was really good. I mean, it's hard to remember the name of the teams because they were foreign. I think it was a Norwegian team we played in the quarters. We ended up beating them 2-0. And I think it was a Denmark team we got in the semi-finals. And it went to a penalty shootout. And that was amazing. It's just, that was another stress that you go through in these tournaments. We've not had a goal against us, and then we're in the semi-finals in a penalty shootout. Now, the boys have been this far before. When we went to Spain, went to the Mallorca tournament a couple of years before, we were Corby Town under 15s then. We got to the semi-finals, and we got knocked out on penalties. So as a manager, them battle scars, those wounds, you kind of, you're nervous for the lads, but mate, they took it on board, the pressures of it, and the elations of getting there, just like that penalty. I think you put them up on social media, Troy's winning penalty to get us through in the tournament.
Somebody sent them through.
Yeah.
I think it must have been Mac that put them up.
The place erupted, the joy. The team, again, just gelled and grouped together. I don't know, and they're all under 19 teams, and we went into the final, and it was Peterborough United under 19s. Funnily enough, and they were last year's winners.
Yeah,
which we didn't know until after the game. So it wasn't like they give us something to. I just told the lads, look, we've made it. We've got to the final. We're the top 2. You know what I mean? Like, go out there and enjoy yourself. And they literally, we banded together. We got a penalty after 2 minutes. Kyle, as brave as he is, took it, like, didn't even fake. Bang, wicked goal. And then, in the last 5 minutes when they had a bit of pressure on us, it was great to see the lads defending. Nothing was getting through us. You just knew when the whistle was going to go, we were going to be the champions of that. and it was fantastic. I mean, I'd love to do it again, but
I was going to say, do you not,
But-
as the holders, do you not get an automatic
well,
position next year?
they have been in contact with me.
Yeah.
My wife was the one that arranged it all, and we had our own organizer. And because we won and he was our organizer, he got like praised for it and all sorts. But he's now been in contact with us and asked if we want to go into an adults tournament in Germany, I think he said, and give that a go.
All right.
Yeah, because
It's a bigger test.
it's a bigger test. But I did say, give me time to think about that. And I'll have a word with lads and see what they think. But my only issue is, it was at Easter. So when we've come back, and it was great, but we didn't win a game. And then I think we drew a couple, and then we ended up losing them 3. So
Well, that's a bit like Leeds United in the Championship, isn't it?
Yeah.
They went away. They went on the tournament, and they come back. And same with Norwich. Norwich fell because
yeah. So
or Cambridge. No, it was Coventry City because of their involvement in the FA Cup. They couldn't make that push on.
yeah,
So I can see if it's too much football sometimes.
yeah. I don't know. It's a hard one to describe because I had a town meeting the other day with the mayor, and she congratulated us, give us a little, a certificate in a frame and stuff, and we got our photo taken and that, and recognizing the achievement. And it's good to see different cultures out there, just like the way the refs ref the game and stuff is slightly different. Nothing major, but just little differences that you notice, and it creates a different culture and a different way of playing. Now, the one thing I noticed that was very apparent was that the refs didn't like retaliation in Holland. There was no sort of animosity out there or anything, but they just didn't stand for retaliation. So if someone come in and took you out, whatever, and it was a bit of a nasty one, you definitely get the free kick. But if the player on the floor got up and did something about that in the other player's face, pushed him or said anything, he got a card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah. So he just stamped out any.
I say that to every referee that comes here for the first team.
It was fantastic, honestly, Chuck. It was great to watch.
Colin, never sit next to him during a football match. It's awful.
Ah.
Your ears are ringing. By the way, I'm not being rude to Colin. I'm actually doing some research because we normally use our computer in there, but because we're in the summer, we're out and about.
Yeah.
So I'm finding out a few bits.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, no
What,
problem.
and what have you found?
What we're going to do at the end of this, we're going to do the walking team. enter the
that kind
tournament.
of information.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more information here on Corby Town TV. See what I've done there? That's a link.
You've done very well, Chuck.
Yeah, thanks very much.
You hold it there, I'll just...
But yeah, so next season then, what do you think you got in store? You got, your team. You've got more lads coming up because we've got to understand that the under 15s, the under 14s, both had a great season as well.
Yep.
Have you watched them play?
Yeah, I went to the final, in the 15s final at Doncaster. I haven't watched in the 14s. She's a bit too young for me to keep an eye on. But this season, I've literally followed the under 16s around, and towards the end of the season, there paid more attention to the under 15s, so I know who's I'm going to be dealing with. I've been in contact with Dave Pratty, the under 15s manager. He wants to send 3 of his players up. They will be 16s this year.
Yeah.
He wants to send 3 of his players up in pre-seasons, give them a taste of what it's like to play older lads and stuff. And it's part of my philosophy. When I first took this job on, my team was a year 11 boys under 16s team. So, yeah, I'm going to keep it part of the philosophy here at Corby when I'm in charge that these young lads will get a chance. So, yeah, he'll come in at training. Those 3 will come in at training. And I've already said to Dave, like, if they're good enough, we'll take them on. If they want to stay with us and train with us, I'm happy with that. But, yeah, I'll be watching his team next year. Keep a close eye on them. And the ones coming through, there's a handful from the 16s. A lot of them lads are from Northampton, so I think they're going to stay more local around those areas for themselves. But yeah, the team itself for next year, a couple of, like I said, Ryan wants to play man's football, so yeah, and I think Rio, our striker's leaving as well. Other than that, it's the majority of the same team that we had this season. So yeah, we bring a couple more young lads through from the 16s, and I think right now if they all stick to their word, I've got 16 players already for next season without having to do a trial day and things like that. Because I've put all the hard work into the 16 since January, you know, been to their training, watch them at games, get familiar with them as players. So it's not such a big who's this and where we going. And the lads, anyone that comes training with us, our lads are very accepting. And it's, you know, so hopefully we can keep it coming. This conveyor belt of players that me and Tiff talk about is getting a sturdy year 2 team at our under 18s, which hopefully next year we will have that. We've got 5 or 6 year 1s, and then we'll bring these 3 good players up from the 15s or 16s next year. They will be. And it just gives you that, you know.
The momentum's there.
The momentum's there. And then you've got the 14s coming through. So, yeah, hopefully for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, this club at 18 level is going to be in a good position.
And what about the other clubs in the league? The Stamfords, I know they've seem to have a pretty good youth setup.
Yeah.
And Diamonds as well, though maybe their pitch isn't in the right place and they don't use Hayden Park and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got Kettering as well. So I think would you say that all the teams are doing a similar thing?
I'd say them 3 are, because they're more like a scholarships
team.
So their scholarships are quite successful, as, you know, it's a little bit different to the under 18s because they go up to the 19s. But that's how they get their players. And then they create an under 18s team from that. So they have a little bit of a different pool than what we have, if that makes sense. I'm trying to use the players that are coming through the system, whereas they use the players that they can get at their scholarship.
All right.
And then, for instance, I know Kettering 30, 40 lads at their scholarship, and then the best players will become their 18s. So it's a little bit of an easier pool, would you say?
It's not so it's not so fair on the lads that don't get a game, though, is it?
Well, the other ones I know they send out to teams like Rawns and stuff like that to go get a game. Yeah.
I don't agree with that. But then again, I don't particularly agree with anything that happens at Kettering.
Well, and then Stanford, they're very similar. I think I speak with their manager. He's a good guy. His name's Paul. He's losing 9. They're all going to university and that kind of thing. So I haven't delved into it too much about the scholarship over there, but I guess it's very similar. The scholarship is ran at Stanford's ground.
Well, they've got a nice ground now, haven't they?
Yeah.
You know, and it's been built around that as well. They've got classrooms and it's all Wi-Fi'd up. And it's a sense that it's not a bad environment to be watching or playing football and learning.
No, it's a good place.
It's I'd say it's a slightly different setup. So we'll just have to live with that if Corby can replicate that or move towards that in the future.
And then, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? And I know Diamonds, they use Moulton College.
Right.
So I think they have.
So they learn about tractors and how to sow seed.
Yeah, but I did see.
It's a farming college.
I did see a flyer for them offering players, and it's £9 a week to play for the Diamonds under 18s.
Pay to play.
Pay to play.
We're not doing that. I don't even do that. Doing poetry.
So that's what I know of those 3 teams you asked me about.
So, but I mean, I just say it looks like you're in a good place for next season. You already got the backbone of a strong team, and you're going to be challenging again. Maybe, hopefully, this season, next season, going forward, it's going to be Corby Town season.
Maybe. I'll try to make it our season this season. I did. I tried. I give it everything.
Just one thing, and a chap that we haven't mentioned yet is your side man, your wingman, Tiff.
Yeah.
How important is he to you and what you do, and going forward?
Yeah, Tiff's really important. Obviously, he's ex-Corby Town defender, isn't he? He's loved around here. He is. He's really loved. And one of the best things I noticed about Tiff around the club, he knows everyone, and he's such a friendly. If you watch him on game day, you'd think he's got a lot of passion, hasn't he? And
he was like that on the pitch.
You wouldn't bump into him and think he was a nice guy.
He was like that on the pitch when he played in the back four for Corby. So it's not a surprise that he's got the same passion on the bench. I'm sure that when he was younger and fitter, he could move a bit quicker. I'm sure getting out of a seat on the bench isn't that easy for him. But no, he is appreciated. He is liked around the club, and obviously he's done an awful lot for the team. And the fact he's in the position now as your assistant, bringing the all the knowledge he has from playing football at that level, it must be tremendous and very useful for the lads in the team.
Well, I'll tell you something, right? At training, sometimes Tiff joins in, and he's clinging on. He's clinging on to his past. He's not so good at the back. Trust me, he's not so good at the back anymore. But in goal, wow! I'm telling you, man, in goal.
He's been in goal a couple of times. He's playing for the first team. He's
any more highly of him, man. I swear to you.
He's got sharp elbows, isn't he?
I feel like shaving him up one week and just saying, "Tiff, you're 18 now." Aren't you?
Yeah, and the other shout out to the other chap that's always on the touchline with you, because he's you with Tiff and Corey, who never gets a mention.
No, Corey never gets a mention. He's a young lad. He's come through the academy. He's done the scholarship system. He played at the 18s. And, I seen something in him last year when he was too old to play for me. So I asked him to come along, be part of the squad, be a number 3. And you know what? He's jumped on board. He's been a great asset himself. He really has.
Does he not want to be playing football?
He is. He's given, I think he was at trials for the Market Harbour under 21s. And I don't want to mention that.
Market Harbour?
They've got a 21s team. So there's a lot of boys around here from 18 to 21 who don't get any joy or man's football or whatever. So they're trying to create a team over there. And I've watched both the trials, to be fair. I've been over and watched both trials. I've got a couple of lads that I know over there. And I think the first week they had 60, and then on Saturday they whittled it down to 44. So the 4 teams of 11 or something like that. But yeah, there's enough keen lads over there. So what I'm trying to say is there's a gap there for these players, isn't there, at that age? And the question did get put out on our league this year with should they create the NY, should they create a 21s? I was up for it. I thought my answer was yeah. And it kind of proved to me when I went and watched those trials that there's so many lads there trying to get in one team, which kind of suggests that there's a lot of players at that age that ain't happy or ain't getting a good enough run somewhere. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, there's definitely a bridge that could be gapped there, I feel, at that age. Corey's been a massive help to us. He's obviously still young as well, so he helps. He's good with the lads, obviously, because he's round about that age, and he's a great help. Bibs, balls, cones, that sort of thing. He comes to training as much as he can because he does work. He works at Tesco's, but he comes training as much as he can. He's always willing to learn. And a few times this season, he said a few things in our ear, in his opinion of how we should go about the rest of the game. And to be fair to him, like, Corey, you'd be a good manager, or you can definitely tell he's got an eye for it. So yeah, more than happy with Corey. He's been a pleasure, and it's better having 3 of you than just 2. Like last year, we had Dom on board for a little while. He was overseeing things, and there was 3 of us, but it was ultimately me and Paul last year. But having Corey on board was really, really good. And I hope he says he is. I hope he's on board next year with us, because it's nice to have a young lad, and it takes a little bit of pressure off me or Paul having to warm them up. Just Corey's up for that, you know what I mean? Like, he's learning as well. And it just gives us all a little bit more of a bit of freedom. Like, Corey can train the lads, Paul can do the keepers, and then I'm over here doing my little bit, so it kind of frees up, more hands make light work, sort of thing.
It's strange because we mentioned Market Harbour Town and Spalding, and they've gone up now, so all their fans, they won't be bothering watching our podcast anymore because we won't be talking about them, will we? There's people in non-league football, and they're always there, and non-league football it's a bit weird sometimes, but it's full of people passionate about their team, passionate about the game, and want to watch quality football and not be embroiled with all that nonsense that you get from the Premiership and the sitting down in your seats and the FA who couldn't run a bath. And it's just a nonsense. Come on, Corby. Non-league football, where's it at? So there.
Anyways, Chuck.
Oh, I've heard something else as well. No. And that's why this is why we've got this. This is why we need obviously. Let's ask an obvious question of our guest. How important is it to you, Hutch, that we have something available to every club that wears the Corby Town badge, like this podcast, to talk about football and other stuff.
I think this. I've had praise for this. What you used to.
Right, get in there.
Honestly, I have going around different, around this county. Yeah. It's
We haven't heard
good.
that. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. I love
it-
what he's doing. And to be honest with you, I'm going to give a shout out to this guy here.
I know he doesn't.
I'm going to give him a high five, Michael, because I'd say you've been to 80% of our games and filmed them, and when Mike was at the game filming and when he's in his little stand here filming us, he even comes to away games, which is fantastic. You got to have a lot of respect for that. But once the other team know that the game's getting filmed, it's a better game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Because
much
they
better
think,
game.
I could be on the
We've
telly,
got everything on camera. No matter what goes right or wrong, it's there.
Well, if you'd like to think if something did go wrong, or there was things that really need to be brought up at a higher level, that it's been filmed and you can hand that over and say, what are you doing about this? Because we are aware, we're blatantly aware, there's incidents that need to be looked at, and they should be picked up by people of that higher level. But maybe they're not. Maybe they're just being ignored. Maybe it's it's just Corby Town again. Or maybe it's they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with the taking the criticism on board and doing something about it. But I mean, frankly, if something's wrong, fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the amount of good goals you've seen yourself, haven't you?
Yeah.
Remember Tanaka's?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a peach, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And
it
then,
was,
and you get to watch the games back, which gives me, it helps me, sort of that analysis side of it, watching the game back, because it's different. In the moment, sometimes you might miss a thing or two, or you might see it's like, and then you watch it back, and then it's brilliant. It's so thank you, Michael. It's been a pleasure to
You're
have
more
you
than
around.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. See, we do get around, and we're appreciated.
Yeah, massively.
I should have brought a cake. So, but it's true. I mean, I think it's a useful thing. It's a useful tool to have, and I think it does help support the club. And obviously, what I'm seeing, because we're watching this back on a monitor, and I can see our big sponsor behind us. So, it's down to the fact that all our teams are sponsored. You've got a sponsor on the back of your jacket. I'm not going to mention it because they don't exist anymore. But this team, the under 18s, are looking for sponsorship of kit and training wear.
Yep.
Is that what they call it now? Training wear.
Yeah, training kit and tracksuits.
So, if is there
feel
anybody out
free.
there that's local and would like to be helping and sponsoring the Corby Town youth team, please be in contact in any which way you can on the socials, because we know that once the season starts again, we'll have this man up here and we'll get him to turn himself round and show you that emblazoned on his back the new sponsor and on the shirt fronts of the team as they're running out.
Yeah.
Because we do film these games and they do get seen. And if you've got a product you want selling, get it on a shirt front.
Definitely, it's good marketing if you ask me.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. Anyways, now you've had your rant.
I've got another one. I got another little one. It's not. I was watching the telly last night. You like this? I was watching BBC Scotland last night because I like to watch. This is Sunday night, 10 o'clock. I like to watch Still Game, right? But I missed it last night. And after Still Game on BBC Scotland at 10 o'clock, it was Football Greats, right? This is BBC Scotland, yeah? Football Greats. So I think it was a first show in a series of one, right? Joking, right? But they featured ex-Corby Town player John Robertson, who isn't very well at the moment. He's got Parkinson's. He's getting on a bit. He played for Corby Town, played for your team, Forest, played at Derby, and played for Scotland. And apparently, right towards the end of the program, you know how they do these programs and they build it up, and right at the pinnacle of the program, he said, "So, John, you've scored goals in a European Cup final. What's your best goal you've ever scored?" He went, "A penalty for Scotland against England." And this was at a Forest gate. This was at Forest. He was being interviewed on the microphone, and the Oral Forest fans went, "Oh, it's John Robertson." Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, it was great to see him on the telly. But we've seen him in a couple of away games, haven't we?
Yes, yeah.
So he's been about a bit. He still comes and watches football, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy the game.
So if you're watching, Robbo, come and watch Corby Town sometime.
I'm sure he'd be made.
I'm sure he would. He would be, very much so.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we're going to start wrapping this up, I think.
Yeah.
Have we got anything else?
Yes, there are a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to say thank you, Colin, for coming on.
Problem.
Now you've heard him rant in first real time. Once he gets going, you can't stop him. But everyone loves him.
Apparently.
He's the number one presenter on this podcast.
I've also got the best listened to radio show on Corby Radio, but we don't want to go into that because people will just get upset when I say it.
Is it
Well,
really
it
the
is.
best?
It is the best radio. Yeah, it is.
And no other presenters ever challenge me, which makes me think that they really don't have much of a check on themselves. But no, as I say, to reiterate, it's Volunteers Day here at Still Park on Saturday. That's the 8th of June. That is correct, the 8th of June. Yep. Be up here at 10 o'clock in the morning. Wear some old clothes or an Arsenal shirt, because if you're getting painting done, you might get some paint on yourself. If it's an Arsenal shirt, it doesn't really matter.
If you're wearing a Tottenham shirt,
you wouldn't see it. We're using white paint. Thanks very much.
Okay.
What about the ladies' team? Is the ladies' team looking for people? They're looking for new recruits in the ladies' team. So contact the club. You've got anything?
I have now. He asked me. I'll have to take that off you a minute. Yes, there is. We'd like to give the shout out to the Walking Football.
Yes.
The Walking Football, who played in a tournament in Harborough. We won't go through the whole tournament, but the Corby drew 0-0 and won on penalties, and that was the over 65s.
Wow.
And
Are you
then
playing for them soon?
The other team lost 1-0 in the final to Stamford and picked up the runners-up prize.
Nice.
And I'm not sure what age that runs from. I did do the bit on the Walking Football. It must be over 55s, yeah.
Unless the ladies' team is over 35. So if you are interested in playing for the Walking Football team, contact the club, because I think there are some spaces. But I think they play at 7:30 down at the West Heath for 2 hours.
Yeah,
Was it 7 o'clock?
Training time, yeah, I think so. They play an hour in the winter and longer in the summer.
Yeah. So if you're interested, you want to feel that, you want to get fit or have that camaraderie of playing in the team, go for it. Walking Football is the way forward.
Willie Kerr is the older generation, I think. The over 65s, and I think, is it David Eaton?
Oh, right, yeah.
Who's oversees the whole thing, I think. Yeah.
David Eaton, Richard Eaton.
I don't know.
Or is that his brother?
Didn't we have David Eaton on
We
here?
did. Well, the only reason I say that is because Richard Eaton is the guy that's running the bar in the new Steel Bar. So I think he's also part of the Walking Football. Right. So there might be brothers or whatever. So, but yeah, he's the bar manager. So because what we haven't done, we haven't sent out a note about who's on the committee on the Steel Bar, and we really should do that. But Richard Eaton is the bar manager. On the other committee members are Chris York, me, Jim Darragh, and we will be opening up to people who want to join us on the committee once we get into this beginning of the season, so we can get it fully kind of organised and together. But there's some big names. I was over there Saturday to see theatre, Friday night to see Theatre at Hate. Absolutely fantastic, and it sounds really good. Now they've got a decent PA in there. The lighting rig's going to be set up and sorted. It's going to be safe, because it's not particularly safe at the moment, the way it was put in before. So that needs to be fixed. But no, the band sounded exceptional. And that was Kurt Cobain coming back to Corby for the first time in 30 years. He reckons the next time he plays Corby, it won't be such a long gap.
Kurt Cobain?
Sorry, not Kurt Cobain.
I'll tell you what, if he came back to Corby, this place would be full.
Yeah, he would, yeah. Kurt Brandon, obviously, of Spirit Destiny and Theatre Ahead.
Anyways, and were they well attended? The,
yes, yeah.
The Sham 69 and
Sham 69. It was busier. But no, it was still. They're both good, and the bands like it as well. And if you've got the involvement and engagement from the bands, thinking that they're well looked after, appreciated, sound quality's good, they'll come back. And I think there'll be a lot of bands lining up to try and play here. I believe the Beat are coming, and they're a brilliant band. Go and see the Beat. I've seen them live. Some Glastonbury one year. They were exceptional. And also Anti-Nowhere League, I believe, are coming as well. So yeah, there's a few gigs coming up. Keep your eye on the socials.
Yep.
I'll point to the camera
indeed.
like that.
Yeah, he's pointing to the camera. Anyways, are we going to wrap this up now? Because Colin's sitting there while we're reeling off all this, what we call housekeeping. And because he's sitting in the middle, he can't escape. Anyways, Chuck, should we say our goodbyes?
We should say goodbyes. Hit the notification button, the like button, and the subscribe button. And keep joining us here on Corby Town TV. With that, I will say my name's Chuck.
My name's Michael.
This is Hutch.
I'm Colin.
Good night.
Good night.